make sure it's live on my site. Good, it's live. Got us looking at the screen.
Okay.
There it is. All right, let me turn it on. Okay, we are here. Everybody's tuning in. I hope we got people coming from Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn to catch up with Brooke McCarty. Welcome to the Coach Mccarty-Williams podcast show.
Thank you.
Thanks for popping on here with us. So yeah, we want to catch up with you and just learn more about your story and how you got to become this awesome player that you are, the ups and downs of your journey, and really catch up and see what you've been up to. Okay.
All
so
right.
As we know, this is Brooke McCarty, guys, from Houston, Texas.
Yep.
She's a former Longhorn, Lady Longhorn, point guard there, and WNBA and professional overseas player. Welcome. Hook 'em, by the way.
Yeah, hook 'em.
All right, Brooke. Let's give everybody just a little bit of background on you. You know, where are you from? What high school did you go to, and just some things about your background.
All right. So like you said, I'm Brooke Mcarty-Williams. Got married, so yeah. But no, I'm originally from Madisonville, Texas. It's kind of like in between Dallas and I guess Huntsville, if y'all know where that's at. But for most of my life, we moved to League City, Texas, which is basically in Houston, over by Galveston. I went to Clear Springs High School. Went there all 4 years. So yeah.
Awesome. What AAU team did you play for?
Well, I played for Cy-Fair Premier, but then later on I started playing for Cy-Fair Shock, which was kind of more of the national stage, I guess. I played for Al. I can't remember his last name at this moment, but yeah. So I started playing for them in high school because Cy-Fair Premier, I played for Chris Johnson, and he went to the college level. And so all of us kind of went over to the Cy-Fair Shop.
Okay. So on your AAU team, do you have any other players you played with or against in college?
Oh yeah. So basically it was kind of like, back then it was kind of like Houston versus Dallas. So I played with pretty much all of the Houston players, like AJ Alex, Breonna Taylor. Okay. I played with Breonna Turner when I was younger. I played with Erica Gumake. I played with Courtney Latham. I played with a lot of people. So basically, if you were in Houston, we all played together.
Right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So high school. Let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process. How you experienced that. And then any advice for parents and young players going through that. How was the recruiting process for you coming up in high school?
Okay. So for me, it was kind of easy. I mean, I kind of already had my schools narrowed down. Well, I really had one school narrowed down until maybe later in my high school career. Okay. So if y'all remember Coach Travis, he coached at LSU when I was in middle school. Okay. And I went to camp there, and I was like, I'm going to play for Coach Travis. Like, that was who I was going to play for, whether he was at LSU, Georgia, wherever he was, you know what I'm saying? And so LSU was my go-to. Like, I was like, whatever, other schools is cool, but I want to play here. So I talked to a couple of coaches, but in my mind, I already kind of knew where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And so the conversations were really short just because I wasn't, trying to give that energy off. I didn't want to lead all the coaches on and then be like, well, I want to go here the whole time, And so when I got to high school, Coach Travis started coaching at Texas. And so I started looking into Texas. When I was growing up, I didn't want to go to Texas at all. I was like, I'm not going to school in Texas. I wasn't a big Longhorn fan, anything like that. So when he moved there, I started looking more into it. And then I met Coach Karen. Mm-hmm. And I liked everything that she was, wanting to do for the program. I liked how she was wanting to turn it around, bring Texas back to what it once was, championships and things like that. And then a lot of people like Ariel. I talked to Ariel and things like that. And I knew Brianna. I knew pretty much everybody on that team. And so it kind of started coming around. I was going to be more close to home. I was going to be playing for Coach Travis. I was going to be playing with people that I know. So when it came to all of those factors, I kind of let LSU go and was like, okay, Texas. So for me, the recruiting process was kind of easy. At first, it was hectic just because there's so many coaches that you can call or call you and things like that. And there was so many conversations that you just really don't know where you want to go. So many good options.
Yeah.
But I think just for me, it was easy because I knew everybody, and the coach that I've been wanting to play for was coming to Texas. And so I think that was why it was pretty easy for me. Advice I would give to parents for kids who are going through that recruiting process or are about to go through that recruiting process, just kind of write down your good and bad, like the pros and cons of the different schools that you talk to, because a lot of it can seem repetitive just because, I mean, you're going to go there to play basketball. You're going to go there to get an education.
Right.
But what do you really want to do? I think that I really didn't know what I wanted to do going into college, and so I was just picking my school, like, okay, I'm going to go here because of basketball. But at the end of the day, there's people who want to do law. There's people who want to do, business. There's people who want to do these different things. And sometimes it comes down to that, like those pros and those cons could weigh differently for the school that you choose. So at the end of the day, if you're just going for basketball and you want to go to the best program, go do that. But at the same time, if you want to think about life after basketball, which I think I would have made made my decision wait a little longer, just because I wasn't really thinking about the whole school aspect of everything. I was thinking about basketball. I'm gonna get a scholarship and then I can figure it out. But I think for some kids, they want to think about life after basketball as well. So you want to go to a school that's going to set you up in your field for potential like jobs and things like that. So I think I would just make a pros and cons list and then weigh everything out.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What did you end up studying at UT?
So I ended up studying social work, and it kind of went in. My major was supposed to be social work, but it went to my minor because of I decided late, and the time didn't match up with everything. But so mine was basically youth and community studies with a youth services focus. I knew I always wanted to work with kids in some way and form to where I can give back, and so that's the reason that my focus was youth services. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew that if I had that and then attached it to my minor, then I could work somewhere how I could work it in somewhere with what I wanted to do, whether it be coaching or just working with underprivileged kids. I didn't really know, so but it's all of it works out, so that was my minor and my major. And then so I knew I wanted to work with underprivileged kids and things like that, but I just didn't know which way I wanted to go.
Okay, cool. Now I know we talked a little bit earlier about other sports you played in high school. So you played quite a few.
Well, not in high school, in middle school.
What happened? Oh yeah, middle school. Okay.
Yeah. So in middle school I played volleyball, I did track, and I did cross country. Mm-hmm. When I got to high school, I was like, these girls are pretty fast. And then, you got that. I got to high school, I started focusing more on just one sport, which was basketball, because I knew I wanted to go farther in that. So, I did those sports though. I liked running. I like long distance running.
Yeah. You said cheerleading too?
Oh no. I was never a cheerleader. Never a cheerleader. I can never get down with the cheerleader.
No, okay.
No.
Okay, what was I gonna ask? Shoot. I had another question. It'll come back to me.
All right.
So we talked about recruiting, going into choosing your school, UT. Freshman year. I like to talk about freshman year so we can get all different types of stories and outlooks. So, going into freshman year compared to high school ball and AAU ball, what's your first take on it looking back?
Freshman year, I think in all aspects of my life were just kind of caught off guard. They were a little hectic.
Okay.
I thought that I worked hard in high school. I thought that, putting in the extra work, things like that. I thought that I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to college, I'm gonna be fine.
Right.
We got to college and I was completely blindsided by everything. Like I was just like, whoa, I didn't even know where to start with anything. So it's just a different level. Like you think that you're prepared, like you really think that you're working hard in high school, but when you get to college, like they'll show you that you haven't been working as hard as you think.
They just break you
And
down, don't they?
yeah. Yeah, it's like you got to break your whole self down and then start all over. But I think that for me, freshman year was, I could say for all of us that came in with my freshman class, we were kind of blindsided with everything, from school to workouts to just life in general, because we never been away from home, things like that. But I think what my freshman year basically taught me is like, you know, I have a different level that I can be pushed to.
Hmm.
And it kind of made me like sit back and reflect. Like when you're going through it, you're thinking like, oh my God, like I'm about to transfer, like this, I'm not about to do this for 4 years. But then when you look back on it, it's like you learn a lot about yourself in those moments. I think everybody's freshman year is hard.
Hmm.
So while I be like, well, my freshman year was this, and that, everybody's going through the same thing. So
Right.
it's just a whole different atmosphere when you're already playing against girls who have been there, who are faster, stronger. They're accustomed to the workouts, they're accustomed to the life, the school life, just everyday life of college, everything that you have to juggle. But I mean, once you look back on it, it kind of teaches you who you are. And then for me, it was like a building, like a stepping stone for me, just because I knew coming back sophomore year, I wasn't going to feel how I felt my freshman year.
Hmm.
So when I went home after my freshman year, I was working out every day. I came back a total 360 my sophomore year, just from workouts, just from weights.
Right.
So I was pretty excited about that. But everybody's freshman year is pretty hard. Everybody's,
It should.
but
I
I
mean, it
did,
should be right.
yeah, right. So it's just like, and then like us four coming in, me, Ariel, Tasia, and Deani, we all came in together. Them are my sisters for life. Like we've been through
Exactly. Yeah.
so much together. We were basically each other's only friends freshman year. So it's like now when we look back on it, we had a lot to gain from it. So.
Right. 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 Um. Let me see. I'm losing my train of thought, man.
Sorry, it's pretty late.
It's all good. So, oh, that's what I wanted to ask. So you go through freshman year and you're experiencing everything at another couple levels, and you said you had those workouts throughout the summer before sophomore year. After freshman season, going into postseason, what was your mindset?
I think my mindset was just kind of to be tougher all around. Um, I know at the time, Coach Mack, he worked as our strength coach, and so I knew that the basketball would come from me just because I've experienced it. So now I know I have a year under my belt.
Hmm.
I know what to do, what not to do. I know I can watch film on it. I know I can do this, that. So I knew that eventually the basketball would kick in, but I knew that I really had to get like stronger. I had to get faster because I'm small. So those girls in college, they're all swole, and even the smaller guards that are still bigger than me are fast. So
Hmm.
I have to be able to keep up in a way that like I can't get tired, I can't get fatigued, things like that. So I made it my I guess I made it a priority for me to get stronger and get faster. So I worked out with Coach Mack a lot before we got to go home, and then even at home I was working on my speed, things like that. So I think for me it was just a mindset change, because I know for a fact at one point I was kind of like, everything's this is happening. Why is this happening? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? But after freshman year, after you let it just kind of calm down and things like that, you gotta have like that mentality change to where like, okay, I didn't do this last year, so I'm gonna go get it, you know. And so that was kind of my mindset, just because I didn't want to feel the same way that I felt whether it was through school, whether it was through basketball, whether it was just through anything that was going on there, you know. I didn't want to be like that person who was labeled as like weak or couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So I knew I had to make a change within myself. So I just started working on me, honestly.
Okay, awesome. So on the school part, comparing high school classes and I guess volume of work to do, compare that to I guess freshman year. How were classes different? How was your schedule and management different?
As far as from high school to college.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows, in high school, high school,
Well,
you
doing
have those same classes every day. You know, you go there, you know what time you're getting out of school, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like high school was nothing compared to college. But me, I'm very, how would I say? When I got to college, I couldn't pay attention. Like my attention span is so small, and like being in those big classes, it's kind of just like. And my freshman year, I was like falling asleep all the time. Like I was always so tired that like I was just like school is just kicking my butt, you know. But so for me, my biggest problem was not being able to focus in class. And so I would have to wait. I would wait until the last day before the test, and I would cram everything and teach myself everything, because like I could be in class looking at you, but I'm not hearing what you're saying.
True.
So like unless the class is like super super interesting, so I'm sitting in class and I'm just basically wasting time because I'm just sitting there, and then I leave the class and I'm like, what did I just learn? So my biggest issue was having to teach myself the day before the test or like the week before the test, everything that we've learned over this amount of days or over the semester, things like that. So I think that was the biggest difference for me was I had different classes every single day on top of going to 6 a.m. workouts, then get done with that, have a little time to eat, and then you go to workouts. And so everything was just kind of coming really fast. And it's not like in high school where, okay, you'll wake up in the morning, go to school all day, you got practice at the end,
Right.
And the timing of it too is like when you start basketball in college, you're going basically year round. When you're in high school, you have your high school season. That's it, And then, of course, people will work out their AAU teams, trainers, whatever the case may be. But on top of having those 6 a.m. workouts, going to class all day, then having another workout, you're tired, but you still got to study. You still got to make sure you're getting your grades, because if you don't get your grades, you can't play, And then it's like on top of that, you got to get the extra work in so that you can be where you want to be. So I think that my biggest thing was just kind of juggling all those. I had to figure out when to get my naps in, because if I don't have a nap, I'm not any good. So it's like you have to figure out like when you want to eat.
Yeah. When was the nap? Was it right before practice?
Look, my freshman year, my nap was anywhere. If I'm in the car, I'm sleeping. if I'm walking to the gym, getting on the bus, I'm sleeping. So you have to find basically time. Like you have to find literally time to do everything. Time to eat, time to get you some snacks in, because you're going to class. So if you don't stop and get you a snack, then you're not going to eat before practice, So it's just, you have to kind of plan your day out. And I'm not good at like, okay, I'm going to be here. I'm kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go here, So I had to kind of change that a little bit and be like, well, I got to eat. I got to take a nap. So I got to do this and this. So, it takes a year. I think it takes a good year. Some people can do it faster than that. I mean, if you're organized and things like that.
Yeah.
But for me, that was the biggest challenge, was just being organized about where I needed to be, because there was so many places you had to be at one time.
Mm-hmm. I definitely could. I agree. It takes about a year after your freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Even going through postseason in that summer and right before sophomore year, you feel like you have kind of acclimated to the life and you get it. You understand. Like you said, some people are very strict in their structure in their day.
Yeah, that's not me.
I was okay. I was okay 6 months, 8 months, but those classes, like those kitty lit at night and writing, certain classes like
what? Yes, those classes.
But the summer classes were tough because I had history and like government, and I don't really care about that like in college, and so I had it in the summer, and I'm telling you, it was the worst class to have in the summer.
Yes.
It goes so fast. You got like a million chapters.
You got things, they're all like so scrunched. I know AO had to keep me like on top of my game. She'd be like texting me like, where you at? What, are you in the way to class? Are you sleeping? Yeah, so I would definitely say to get like, because my freshman year, I feel like I kind of clinged on to AO a little bit. At first, me and her kind of, bumped heads because of workouts, and then having our workout gear where we needed it to have, and because you try to get those naps in, you don't want to go back to the gym, things like that. But I would definitely say, like, if it wasn't for AO my freshman year, I would have been all over the place, because she was making sure like I was on top of things, and so I would definitely say to have somebody in your corner that will kind of try to get you acclimated to everything going on, because it's a whole different world. Like a lot of people think, I'm gonna just go to college and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. No, you're not. You're gonna do this, that, And so I would think that, for me, it was best that I had somebody to go talk to, or, somebody to tell me where this building was or where this building was. And like that's a part of the job. So they're gonna love that you're asking questions and things like that.
Yeah. And if you hate reading maps, that map, I remember we had this dang map, man. They gave us a map.
40 acres?
Figure it out, find the class. I'm like, no, I'm going to be in every wrong building.
Yes, literally every wrong. There's so many buildings that like I even had the little app. Yeah. And I was still lost. I was just like, this campus is too big.
You
too
just
big.
ended up asking everybody that passes you, hey, you know where?
Yeah.
Like, dang, freshman.
Yeah.
Trying to get to class.
And then they'll be like, oh, that's on the other side of the campus. You'd be like, what? Yeah. Yeah. Those maps do nothing for you. Those maps do nothing for you at all.
All right. A little bit more about college. I like to talk about the transition. Mm-hmm. So if you could go real briefly, year by year, freshman, sophomore, on up to senior year, your transition as a player, and how you can look back and see how you matured every year, and what your focus was improving every year.
Right. Like I said, I think my freshman year, I was kind of just getting used to everything. The things you did in high school, you can't do in college, like making cross-court passes or doing this, doing that, So I think for me, freshman year was just a learning experience, because I know I played, but I started for a little bit, but, then we got to the Big 12 tournament, hit that freshman wall, and from then on, it was kind of just like, I'll play here and there, and so like I said, I focused on getting faster. I watched a little film, just kept trying to perfect the things that I was already good at and work on the things that I wasn't good at, so that the things that I was good at would kind of carry me into the next year, but then I would still have things to work on. My sophomore year, I came back and I was definitely faster. I was stronger. I was more prepared. I worked on my endurance, things like that. And as far as basketball, I was in the gym all the time, so I was more comfortable in game situations. I knew more of the plays. I knew, I knew the plays,
You never know plays in freshman year. I didn't know a darn play. You can ask.
There was so many plays that I was just like, you know what? At this point, you might as well just take me out, because I don't know. So I knew more of the plays. I started clinging on to Selena more, because it was her last year, and right. I was potentially going to be the next point guard. So I would just, watch Selena, and, everything that Selena did was with poise. And I was kind of still in that stage where I was trying to go fast. Right. And so, I watched her a lot. I asked her questions, and things like that. I kept working on my game, worked with her on trying to just how she was a point guard. I wanted some of her qualities. Yeah. And so I did that my sophomore year, and I was more comfortable, I was starting, things like that. I was getting comfortable, getting more vocal, things like that, because I was never the vocal person to where I'll be like, here, I was kind of more lead by example. Okay. And so then going into my junior year, I think that was, for me, that was probably my best year. I was playing free. Like, I was in that position to be the point guard. So everything that was going on, everybody was looking to me to kind of be that leader and kind of, direct them, kind of do this along with, Ariel and things like that. And so I think that year I just kind of really worked on just being free. I wasn't super structured in the gym to where like I wasn't just working on things like that I should have been working on. It was kind of more of like, okay, you come down, pull up here, or you do this. You play a lot of pickup games. I played a lot of pickup games with the guys at the rec and things like that, so that I could just be more accustomed to different things. Like, because guys, they're going to take away your strengths. They're going to take away this. They're going to defend you. They're going to defend you a certain way, things like that. And so I had to think differently. I had to make different decisions. I had to work on different finishes, work on different shot selections, things like that. So I think my junior year, I worked on that a lot. I was still, working on my speed, but by that time, my speed and stuff was there. So it was kind of just staying in the gym, staying in the weight room, things like that. I worked on those things so that I can increase my range and things like that. Going into my senior year, I kind of did the same thing, but I think I kind of went overboard with how much I was in the weight room, or how much, because I wanted my body to transform. But we got a new strength coach, and he worked more on like cardio. So before I was doing with Coach Mack, I was doing weight. But when we got the new strength coach, it was more cardio, kind of like just keeping you in shape, not wearing your body out with the too much weight. But for me, the weight was good because my shooting range, and then just being a little bit stronger, which I was still strong, but my body transformed to where like I didn't know it at the time, but I was overdoing it. Okay. And so I worked on that a lot. I was in the weight room a lot with that. And then I kept working on my shooting, trying to do different finishes, things like that. I kind of tried to stay steady and work on the things that I needed to, and keep perfecting things that I was good at already. So yeah, I would think that it's just putting in the work, repetitive reps. Because once you get in the game, if you're not going to be scared to take a shot or do this or that if you've been working on it. So I think it was just kind of being prepared. I was trying to just be prepared for games, things like that.
Yeah. And that comes with constant preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a lot of times doing the same things really over and over and over and over. And
right.
You get a little bit, so it's a little different, a little harder.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got to get your shot off in shorter time, or make the decision quicker. I think a lot of young kids that really want to be better players and improve fast get bored with the basics.
Yeah.
Get bored with the same thing every day. And we understand that. Yeah. It gets boring sometimes, but it's like that result that you get at certain parts in the season, certain games, or that end of the season where it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm glad that I did those shots every freaking day, every day.
Yeah.
So I just try to encourage young kids to understand you got to do the same things. Sometimes you got to do the same boring things just so it can be automatic.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about them in the game. There's no question to your confidence when you get in the game and you're in that same game. Yeah.
Especially, I would definitely say that, just because when you get, like you said, when you get in those games and it's coming down to the last minute and you're trying to do something that you haven't done, your confidence is not going to be high. Your confidence is not going to be at the all-time high that you like never practiced it. Right. Like, but if you're practicing this move or this shot 20 times a day, 40 times a day, whatever it is, when you come to game time, you're going to be like, okay, I knock this down all the time. Like, this is easy money. You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely say, like, it gets boring, but at the end of the day, like, you're going to perfect that. So that's going to be one of your shots that people are going to be like, well, that's her shot. When they start scouting you, things like that, they're going to try to take that away from you. Right. So once they start taking that away from you, then that's when you start tweaking your game, work on something else. But you always got that in your bag. Right. So
it does get boring though. Yeah, it does. And I think though things get boring because I know my first year overseas in Portugal, um, my coach made us shoot the same shots. I'm talking about same drill, same shots every day.
Yeah.
It was only an hour, but I was like, I'm a little lazy rookie. I'm like, hey, we gotta shoot every day. We can't do 3 times a week. But my shot was so wet, automatic. It was
Yep.
my shot is the 15-footer.
Yep.
I give you a jab, I go. All right, take one dribble and pull up. I'm
Yep.
telling you, by the end of that season, boy, couldn't nobody stop my shot. I mean, it was in my face. It was like, ooh.
Yep.
Like, okay, first, that's what I learned my first year overseas. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and I knew that in college, but I don't know, it just clicked that year. He was so adamant about get in here and shoot and shoot and shoot. And
Yep.
it was on, and I was like, that's my shot.
Yep.
Shot, right? So that was my tool that I'm always gonna have in my bag. Um, let's see, film. You talked about a little bit about film. I just want you to hear from you and tell some of the kids out here how important is film and to understand the game itself apart from technique.
Right. I mean, for me, it was, I guess, I would say, speaking on point guards, but I mean, any position, um, you have to know the game. Like, you can think you know the game, and that's in high school. I didn't watch film at all. My high school coach wasn't really big on film in high school, and so I knew nothing about film going into college. And then you go into college, and then you're sitting in film for about 2-3 hours, and it's literally like nitpicking everything that you're doing wrong, and you're like, dang, I look like this for real.
Yep.
So but it's super important, and I really didn't understand that till, like I said, my sophomore year. um it's crazy, like you can literally see, you learn so much. And for me, I wasn't big on watching myself until Coach Jamie came.
Okay.
I watched film on myself with Coach Travis as well, which they both really opened my eyes to what I was doing. But for me, at first, it was more about what the other team or what the other opponent was doing.
Okay.
When you watch film, it tells you, like, you'll see the same moves. Like you said, when people have that go-to move, you'll see the same moves on film that they do. So you'll be so much more prepared. Like, I feel like in college, you can't go into a game blindsided, because whoever it is super good at whatever they do, and they're going to burn you every time, no matter how prepared you think you are, no matter how good of a defender you are, because there's so many things that they can set up to where they can get you with the same move. You know what I'm saying? And so I think for me at first, it was more about learning my opponents and kind of seeing what they're going to do so that I can be prepared, instead of being blindsided by things that they're going to do on offense or even on defense. Like, you can watch them play defense, and it's going to show you how they play defense, how they'll defend you, things like that. When I really started doing well was when I started watching myself with Coach Travis, Coach Jamie. When you watch yourself, it shows you so many more things than you think. Like, in the game, you'll think, oh, that wasn't open. That's why I didn't do it, And that was always my response, is like, they're like, well, why didn't you do this? And I'll never forget, like, me and Coach Travis were having a conversation about film one time, and he was like, well, why didn't you do this? And I was like, and I literally was like, Coach Travis, it was not open. Like, it wasn't open, And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, positive. You watch the film, wide open. You know what I'm saying? So it really teaches you a lot. Like, it shows you where the gaps are. It shows you where you can beat teams' defenses, even not just yourself, with your whole offense, where you can draw up this play and it'll work because this defender is not doing this, or they don't have any help side, things like that. So film is super important, just if you want to grow your game and grow the knowledge of the game. I think for me, besides just watching the college film, I was never big on watching people in like WNBA or NBA play, things like that. I didn't really watch other college games because I was like, my life is so consumed with playing right now and all this stuff on my schedule. Like, I don't feel like watching basketball, but it actually does help you a lot. Like, I can't stress enough how big film is. especially when you're not understanding why you can't do something, or like how to get past this defense or how to do this. Watch your film in practice. Even when you're practicing, like watch how hard you think you're going, how hard you're not going. Watch the games. It'll help you a lot.
Yeah. And when you start getting chewed out in front of everybody, you're gonna start picking it up and making sure coach don't say your name in film.
Yep, you're gonna try to stay out the way
Stay out the way.
because when you get to college, it's gonna be in front of everybody. You're gonna be embarrassed.
Embarrassed.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't let it be a losing game, boy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, don't let y'all lose, because when you go to film that next day, you're gonna be in there for about 3 hours, and everything is gonna be start stop start stop start stop. Ooh, yeah. Lord Jesus, I don't miss it.
You lucky if it's a losing game and you coming back from on the road, because I know we had practice like right off the plane, right off the bus sometimes.
Coming back?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had that a couple times when Karen was real mad at us. Yeah,
I know Karen wasn't playing. I know.
Yeah, that was dead.
Yeah. All right. When can you share a little bit about when you started to come into your own strengths and understand, what your main tools in your bag were? Just what are your main tools? Because I know what I try to tell kids is, try to figure out who you are and build your foundation. It's either going to be things that you just naturally do the best or the best on your team, or these are things that you might not be great at them, but you enjoy them. You enjoy rebounding. Like, not a lot of people enjoy rebounding or playing defense, right, but you enjoy it. So go ahead and spend time getting better at it.
Right.
So how did you come to the conclusion of your tools?
I think mine was before high school. I mean, before college. I always knew I could shoot. I always knew as a point guard I could score. I knew my go-to move was the floater. I knew that, like, getting in a situation I could distribute the ball. So I feel like for me it was before even getting to college. Even before high school, I knew my strengths. I knew what I could do because I worked on them so much, and just not even just working on them. I knew from the beginning, like when I first even started, that I could do these things. So I definitely focused on them in high school because I was like, well, you got to know yourself too. Like, I'm small, so I got to be able to shoot, because I'm not just going to always get into the lane and be able to take a layup. I'm not going to be one of those big girls banging in there for a layup. Floater, because they're going to try to block my shot. So other than a layup, I'm going to try to shoot it over you. Yeah. And then I knew that being a point guard and things like that, I could distribute the ball. So, and then I knew my strengths too were my speed and quickness, So I think for me, I learned it way before. If you don't know yours, I would kind of, like you said, get in the gym and start playing around. Like, don't go in the gym with somebody, with a trainer or anything like that. Just go in there by yourself and kind of see what you do. Like, do you pull up? Do you shoot threes? Do you work on floaters? Do you work on all your fancy moves or whatever? So I would definitely say to do that if you don't know what your strengths are. But I think for the most part, a lot of people do. They just try to do too many things. I think that, because a lot of the younger generations is more like fancy, finesse, things like that. So I think that a lot of kids now are trying to do too much, which kind of leads them to thinking that they don't know their strengths. But when they get in the gym by themselves, they really do. It's just they're trying to be doing what everybody else is doing.
That's a good point. When you try to get too fancy, or you compare yourself to do other things that other kids are doing that you think you should be doing.
Right.
Like, don't get too fancy. Like, get to if you finessing and doing double pumps and you can finish,
then you do
it. Right?
Yeah.
Make it get in the bucket. But if that takes you away from completing and executing the play, stop doing that.
Exactly.
Like, I was the most basic player. I'm like, look, if I take 4 dribbles, I know it's going off my shoe. I'm taking 2 or 3, and I'm gonna get to the basket. Right?
Exactly.
I'm not taking any chance of the extra stuff. And I knew that wasn't my game.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have the great ball handling, but I could get by you in 2 dribbles.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And you said to go in the gym and for them to understand what their strengths are, go play and train yourself, and then again watch your film. What do
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah.
What do you do when you actually shoot, or what do you do when you actually attack the basket?
Yeah.
Is it a floater, or what are your I guess tendencies?
Yeah.
Just like to scout yourself. And then I would say too, um, ask your teammates and ask your coaches that you are around, high school AAU coaches and other coaches. Maybe if you have a trainer, ask them and just see what people are saying, because they're gonna give you something that's very tangible and probably true. And if you continue to hear the same thing, think about it.
Yeah.
See if you can identify that in the games.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like you said, I was never the flashy type either. Like if
Right.
I'll give you a hesitation and be by you,
That's all
and
I need. We don't need nothing else.
exactly.
I'm
And
not
so
spending nothing.
yeah, and it's like it's a lot of people who, like you said, look to other people and be like, well, dang, she can do this. I want to do this, but you don't know that in her head she's thinking, well, dang, she can do this. I want to be able to do that.
Right.
So I think it's just stick to what you know, and then like when you perfect those or when you get those to a point where you don't even have to think about it, then start adding those other things. Ask your teammate or ask your trainer, hey, can we work on this? Hey, I see you do this well. Can you teach me how to do it?
Sure.
And just kind of keep trying to grow your game. It doesn't all have to be at once. Like you don't have to have everything in your arsenal at once. Like it takes time. It takes time for things to like develop. It takes time for you to even get confident with doing those moves. Like they're so good at those moves because they're confident because they've worked on it those repetitive times, those repetitive reps, just like you've worked on this. So I would say definitely is to kind of not compare yourself. Because I know for me, I was always like, well, I know what I can do. She can do that. I'm gonna let her do that.
Right here.
Yeah. So it's just knowing yourself, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't get caught up in. It's like track. If you're running, you can't look back. You're gonna get
Right.
caught.
Because
Just
you're gonna
stay in
get
your lane
caught.
and do what you do.
Right.
Like everybody, I think everybody has value. They have their own value and their own flair. So like, really be confident. Really be confident about what you do, and I think that comes along with the time you spend in the gym.
Yeah, and that makes you stand out more. It's like she can do this. If I'm a coach, I'm looking to see what you can do that's different than everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And so if you're out here doing the same thing that you're trying to see everybody that you've seen everybody else do, then it's kind of like, well, you're taking away from your value.
Sure. Yep. So I wanted to ask a question about confidence. Specifically, just because of your size, I want to hear your experience on, feeling like, oh, maybe I wish I was taller, or hearing that she's too small to go play D1, she's too little to go play overseas in pro. Because I've trained some kids that are shorter, boys and girls, and they have a hard time, like, figuring themselves out and with the confidence of being a small person on the floor. Can you talk a little bit about that and how if you had issues and how you got through that?
So at first I never was big on like, I was never the person to be like, I'm small, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been small, so I know this. Like,
I've been like this.
What you're saying is I already know. So that's not that's not gonna be the reason that I can't do this. That was always my motive, and that kind of motivated me to put in more work. So for me, I think it was sometime in high school. I was talking to, back then when we were in high school, it was big on rankings and recruiting and things like that. So I sat down with one of the ranking guys, and I was just asking him like, why am I this? Why, just trying to get his insight on things, because I know the reason, but at the same time I want to hear it out of your mouth. Right. And so for me, hearing him, what he had to say, I asked him, I was like, well, I know that you have me this, but when I play against these players, I'm killing it,
Yeah.
And so I was like, so what is the problem? And he basically was like, I'm just be real with you. And I was like, okay, that's fine, because I respect that more than you just sitting here trying to fabricate something.
Right.
And he was like, it's because of your height. It's because how small you are. And so
That's crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, that was probably the only time where I was like, man, you know, like I gotta prove. From then on, I was like, I gotta prove this, prove that, prove this, prove that. And so before then, I wasn't really thinking about it. But then when he told me that in high school, I was like, well, since you said this, I'm gonna prove that I can be this, and I'm gonna prove that I can be this player, regardless of how tall I am. Because if that's the only answer you can give me, then there's nothing really, there's nothing really that we need to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was always confidence from there because of the work that I put in. Yeah. Like I was always in the gym. High school, I didn't really do anything in high school. Like high school, skipping football games, skipping the things that normal kids would go to, you know, just to have fun and mingle and things like that. I was always in the gym. It didn't matter what was going on. Like I couldn't do it because I was going to be in the gym. And so I think me wanting to prove something, and I don't know if it was to prove to him or to prove to other people or anything, but I think it was just to prove to myself that I can be this player because of the work that I'm putting in, no matter like if I'm small, no matter if I'm this, that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my confidence was always there because of the work I put in. Yeah. Like if I wasn't always in the gym, I don't think I would have had the same confidence going into everything that college, you know, just games in general. I don't think I would have had the same confidence that I would have had if I didn't put in the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like comments like that, and it's not a bad comment.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's just kind of reality check.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. And you guys gotta use that for motivation.
Yeah.
Like anything. I used to just make stuff up sometimes.
Yeah, it's literally, you just gotta, like, I would say be receptive to criticism, be receptive to, you know, people being real with you about like where you are in your game, or like, you know, have somebody, if you're going to have a trainer or if you're going to have people around you in the basketball world, have people who are going to tell you the raw truth. Because when you get to college, you're going to either be sitting the bench or you're going to be trying to get into those spots to play, you know? Mm-hmm. And so be receptive to all those things and use it as your own motivation. Like however you use it to motivate yourself. That's what within you and yourself, you know, but don't let those things get you to a point where it's kind of like you're beating yourself up about it, you know, because it's just one person's opinion.
Right.
And other people could be like, oh my God, you never know how many people are like looking up to you. You never know how many people are like, dang, I wish I could do what she does. You know, you never know. So you just gotta use those things as motivation and kind of like put it on the back burner and be like, okay, I know what you said. Like, so now when I play in these games and when you see me play, you're going to see the work that I put in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Exactly. I love it. I'm loving this. Let's get into, okay, after senior year, because I want to get into your pro career up to date. So senior year goes down. First, most memorable moment of senior year. It's probably a lot of them, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. Let me know. You can come back to it if you need to think about it.
Senior year was senior year. Let me think. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back to that one. I can't give you that one right now.
I got you. Okay, so we're past senior year. Talk to us about, lead us through graduation and we know you play for WNBA, we know you play in pro, but so how did you get from senior year to, you know, pro basketball?
Okay. So my senior year, I didn't get drafted, and I think that kind of took a toll on me just because it was like, dang man, this was the first time where I was kind of like, I didn't put in all this work, and it just seemed like it was all for nothing, you know, because you go through and you're like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, but when it doesn't happen, it's kind of like, it kind of takes you back, and it's like, so what I put in all this work for, like, what, you know what I'm saying? You start questioning things like that. So I think for me, when I didn't get drafted, that was kind of in my mind, and I was like, it don't make sense because how hard I worked for it, you know? So after that, after the draft or whatever, I went to LA training camp, and I did good there. I got all the way to one of the last cuts, and then I got cut. That kind of took me back a little bit more, you know? So it was kind of like I was I was failing at something that I was used to succeeding at.
Right.
And so when that happened, I was kind of in my mind, I was kind of just like turned off from basketball, you know?
Okay.
And so I came back home to Austin, and I was graduating in a couple of days. So that kind of lifted my spirits, you know. I was graduating, I was super excited, like I'm about to walk across the stage, you know, I did it, things like that. And so after that day, graduation day, I actually drove. Me and my husband, he picked me up. He came from Virginia because we live in Virginia.
Okay.
He came from Virginia, flew down, and then we drove a U-Haul and took all my stuff down here. And I moved out to Virginia, you know, different scenery, things like that.
Yep.
It was all a lot of stuff happening at once. But I was excited about it because we hadn't got to spend time together. You know, we hadn't got to be around each other because of my hectic schedule and his hectic schedule.
Right.
So I moved out here to Virginia. I wasn't. I was working out, but I wasn't. It kind of gave me some time to kind of sit back and reflect because my husband's the type of person where he's not going to force me to do something that I don't want to do, and he can tell when I'm not into it, you know. So he would here and there be like, "You want to go to the gym? You know, you want to go work out?" Because it was weird because I was always the type of person where I was like, "I gotta work out, gotta work out, gotta work out."
Right.
And so, and the good thing about it was he's in the Navy, so he was going out to sea and things like that. So I really had a lot of time to be here by myself and reflect on, you know, things that happened, you know, things that didn't go my way, things like that. And I actually got to take like a 4 month break to where like I didn't go to the gym, I didn't, I wasn't playing basketball, I wasn't thinking about basketball, you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me that time to really see like my body was super tired. Like basketball my senior year and then going past my senior year had become like a job to me. And it never felt like that. It never felt like I had to do this or I had to do that. I had to be here. But I always felt that year that I have to do this because I have to make this. I have to do this because I need to do this. You know what I'm saying? It was always because I need to do something. But it was never like thinking about myself and like my body. I was always on go to where I was like, well, I mean, if I don't get it now, somebody else will, you know? And in early in my senior year, Karen had told me, she was like, you know, you got to slow down, your body. But me, I'm hard headed. So I was like, slow down. Like what? Like, Karen, are you crazy? You know? And so, but it actually took that time for me to be here and like not do anything, not even be around basketball for me to realize that my body was worn out. I was worn out mentally, physically, you know, emotionally, everything. I was worn out. And
Yeah.
so I took those 4 months off, you know. I was going to the beach every day. I was literally living my life, like doing whatever I wanted to do.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
and so then finally, because I was supposed to go overseas. I was supposed to go overseas after I left the training camp a little bit longer. But some things had happened with the agent that I had at the time. And so I had to end up switching agents, which I did around November.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up leaving. So with that whole situation, I was kind of just like over basketball at the time because I was like, well, this didn't work out. This ain't working out. I'm like, maybe this is just something that is just showing me. But really, it was just giving me time. Like everything happens for a reason. I really believe that. And now, and so like that time, I needed that time to regroup, to give my body a break, to kind of figure out who Brooke was outside of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I switched agents around mid-November, closer to the end of November, and then a week later I left for Finland. And it was the most fun that I had playing the game in a long time. Like when I got to Finland, I was playing free. I was getting back to the old me. Like I was having fun with it, you know. It wasn't like a job. I didn't feel like I had to do this, I had to do that, you know? Yeah. And so I feel like that time kind of gave me time to reflect, kind of gave me time to be like, okay, you need to get back to what you enjoyed. And so playing over there, at first it was kind of I'm big on being homesick, and so when I first went over there, I was like, I'm ready to come home. Like,
I'm ready to go.
This is a bad decision. Like all around, I should just stayed home. You know.
And that was what the first 2 weeks or like a month.
No, it was like a month. First of all, it was freezing over there, and I was like, oh no, it was like almost negative degrees, and I'm like, this ain't it. So I was like, you know what, this is a bad decision. I need to come home. You know, I was calling my husband like, look, I need to come home. And so, but you know, after I got over all that and stuff, and I actually just started playing, it felt good again. Like it was fun to play over there, and I'm in a different country. Like there's not a lot of people who could say they're doing what they love in a different country. You know what I'm saying? So at first I was taking all these things for granted, and then when you sit back and think about it, because you have so much time, honestly, to think about it over there. Hold on, let me put you on the charger. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
But you have so much time to like think about things and all that over there that it's like when you think about it, you're really like blessed to be in the position that you're in, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it took a while for me to do that. But once I started doing that, I started getting back to my old self. You know, we won the championship over there, so that made me happy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so it was super fun. Like it was really fun. And then I met, you know, friends over there on my team that are like now sisters. So, you know, you get put in positions to where like a lot of things make sense afterwards. Yeah. And then, so after I left over there, I didn't leave until around late May. It got to a point where I was like,
what was the name of your team real quick in Finland?
Pelly Carhut. Look, I can't.
We all have team names, but we can't say them.
I can't say it still to this day.
Correctly. Okay.
Yeah. So, no, but I left around mid-May. Sorry. Oh, hold on. Okay. I left around end of May, and then I got to come home for a week, and then that's when I went to Dallas. Going back to the whole Dallas situation, when I was going through the free agency process again, when it was time to, you know, decide if you wanted to go back to training camp, things like that. My agent was like, you know, you should really think about it because the same coach from LA was in Dallas now, and he was like, he wanted me to come to the training camp. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm like, I'm
going through this again.
I'm not going through this again. I'm not doing this again. I'm not, because I knew how I felt then again, you know, and I was like, I'm not doing it again. So I got to talking to my husband, and he was like, you know, you don't want to regret anything. You know, if you have the opportunity, you never know. It might turn out different this time, you know. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to go. So I did. And, you know, it's different. It's a different level, definitely. It's business. So you got to be prepared. You got to be. But I would say that I'm glad that I did go, just so that now I can say, like, you know, I played in the WNBA. I worked hard for that, you know, and things like that. So I think overall it was a journey, but I definitely think that my journey was what it was for a reason.
Yeah. And you played that full last season there.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Any big things that you learned from just that season? Playing with any of the veterans. I'm not sure who's on the team right now. Who's a vet? Who's been there like? Years playing.
So when I was there, we had, who do we have? We had Gloria Johnson. She's a vet.
Okay.
We were a young team, so we didn't have many vets. We had Teresa Plaisance. Skylar was there.
Okay.
Taylor Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of vets just because we were a young team. So, yeah, I think those were the only vets, honestly. And Skylar didn't play, so we really had like 2 or 3, maybe.
Gotcha. Cool. So where are we at now?
I'm in Virginia. You know, I'm pregnant, about to give birth next month. Woo-hoo, finally.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's me right now. You know, I came out here and I was coaching at this middle school and things like that. So
That's
It's
fun.
been fun. Just kind of, debriefing again, kind of giving myself a break and hanging out with my hubby,
There you go.
living that good life.
There you go. I did want to make a comment on you saying how you took a break. You took that 4 month break, and then you're taking a break now too. But I wish playing professionally, I would have took the time I needed off. I
Hmm.
I probably actually needed a whole season off
Yep.
just to recoup mentally and then also physically because I had many injuries.
Right.
It's especially when you're playing college ball and then going over and playing pro. It's okay to take time off. I mean,
Right.
they make it seem like your stats. You don't mess up your stats if you take
You're not.
half the season off. I'm like, if you can play, you're gonna get paid. You're gonna go somewhere.
Exactly.
So for the college players that are getting ready to go over and you people that are playing right now currently, take a break when you need it.
Yeah.
Like
I
listen
would
to your
definitely
body,
say,
listen to your physiology. If you need it, you gotta take it.
yeah, I would definitely say that you don't really realize it because everybody's telling you, like, oh, if you take this break, you're not going to be this. Or if you take this break, they're going to do this. It's not.
You're not gonna get picked
Sometimes
up.
the
Yeah.
best thing for people is to take a break because when you're constantly going, especially if you're going overseas and then you're trying to play in the league and things like that,
Ooh, that's
when
hard.
you play overseas, you're going to be playing 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So that you need that break time. Like, sometimes that's more beneficial to you than doing anything else, is taking a break, taking care of your body, because once you're physically drained, then you start coming mentally drained, emotionally drained. And it's like all that trickles down. And then you
Hmm.
thought that you were going to, be this good player because you keep going, keep putting in the work. But at the end of the day, you're not doing as well as you thought because your body is just tired. It's just, you have to
Yeah.
take a break sometimes. And, I didn't realize that at all.
Right.
My husband told me that, and I had to hear it from coaches, things like that. So, um, definitely take a break. Definitely give your body that break, whether it be a season, whether it be, a couple months, whether it be a couple days, a week, or something like that. The money's always going to be there. If you're a good player, like you said, you're going to get picked up. You're going to get, somebody's going to want you.
Yeah.
So it's just like, don't be afraid to take a break because you're afraid of missing out on this money or missing out on this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all going to come back around.
There's no missing out. I mean, I've even remember seeing a lot of players like take seasons off because you're like, well, where's so and so? I thought they was playing. Now she out
Yep.
playing. Like, and then they come back and they picking people
Killing.
30,
Yes.
35. I'm like, dang, I should take a year off.
Exactly. Like, and it's a lot, especially for people who are trying. If you're in high school and you're about to start your college journey, and you want to go overseas and do that, then I would definitely, listen to that. Even if you're about in college, about to start your overseas and WNBA, things like that journey, like, you're gonna be missed. And it's not just, the basketball part of it; it's the family part of it, everything like that. You're gone 24/7.
Hmm.
So you're missing time. So those times when you are tired and, not doing well in basketball, you don't really have that family around for you to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to my grandma's house or I'm gonna go to my mom's house and just
Get some
hang out,
love.
debrief and things like that. You don't have that because you're always in another country, you're always in another state. So it's just better for you to take those breaks instead of having to come to a point where you're injured or your body's just so tired that you can't go, because
Exactly.
that will be worse than you just deciding on your own, like, let me take a break.
Hmm.
So
For
yeah.
sure. For sure. All right, we're coming up on an hour. I mean, I've had fun talking to you and catching up with you and sharing your story. I appreciate you on the show. Before we get off, though, couple questions.
All right.
So, what do you do to outside of basketball? Let's say you're in season, but you just need to get away or get a little break. You can't really go on vacation, but
Right.
what do you do to take your mind off basketball and kind of debrief? Whether it's Netflix or like I go fishing if I can.
Mhm.
I never catch anything, but I try to.
Right. Well, we live out here by the beach and stuff like that, and so we always go to the beach. Well,
Okay.
when it wasn't cold, we were always going to the beach. Or I'm big on, me and my husband go on rides a lot, just to sit and talk, things like that. Those kind of just debrief my mind. Honestly, just being here and around him, it's kind of like a step away from basketball because we're living our life, you know? And so, just hanging out. I don't really do much. Yeah, like I said, I go to the beach, we go on walks or something like that, but that's about it. I'm not a big going on places person right now. So
what would you do when you were overseas?
overseas,
Because you got to be creative, right?
yeah, no, you really do. My roommates were awesome. I had two roommates, and they were actually older than me. So we were always watching movies or like, because it was so cold out there, we didn't want to go anywhere. Yeah. So we would watch movies and just hang out. You know, sometimes it's just having people around that genuinely care about you and have those moments. Because once you get overseas and things, you're not the only one going through that. Like so there was a lot of times where me and my roommates, we would just sit and talk and be like, yo, this is what I'm going through. And they'd be like, yeah, me too, you know? So it's just having people around you. I think for me, it's having people around me who really, genuinely care about me and things like that, and my mental health and things like that.
Yeah, mental health is super important.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, last question. Is there any, I know you've been dropping jewels and advice through the whole podcast here. Anything last minute you want to say to, high schoolers and college players that, they look up to you, they want to be at the level that you have accomplished, D1, big time D1, WNBA, overseas. Just any words of encouragement or advice for them?
I think my biggest advice would be probably just to know yourself outside of basketball. It took me to getting out of college and, just being able to be away from everything to kind of start figuring myself out. Mm-hmm. But know yourself outside of basketball so that when basketball is getting, tiring or getting hectic, things like that, be able to know what you like outside of that. Like whether it's you like to go shopping, whether it's like you like to go to the movies or, go see nature or do something like that. Mm-hmm. Know those things so you'll have that outlet to where you don't always feel like if you don't have basketball, you don't know what you're gonna do. Sure. Always have that part of you where like what you like outside of basketball.
That's even important for vets right now that might have another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Retirement's around the corner.
Yep.
You gotta
comes up quick.
Who are you outside of basketball? Find some hobbies and network and get into some things for your next career or your second career. The second part of that question is, what would you have? What advice would you give parents to, I guess, help, like some parenting advice, right? But I think looking back at how you were parented, anything that were positively helped you become that player that you were and get to, be you.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
For me, my mom was super big with basketball, so my mom was like
number one fan, huh?
Right, like basketball, and I think that helped me because it made me stay focused. So she would always be like, pushing me in my games, like, well, you didn't do this, or like she was hard on me, like the normal basketball mom or basketball dad. She was hard on me to the point where it made me want to go harder so that I could be this person, because she always saw the vision that I didn't see yet. And so I think that was good for me because it made me be in the gym. It made me who I am because I was always in the gym because of her, me and myself. But with her push, I was always in the gym. So I think that was good for me because I don't know if she was just kind of like laid back and, didn't care if I went to go work out or anything like that. It would kind of just, I don't think I would be the same player that I was,
Sure.
And then as far as just outside of basketball, I think it would be just kind of let your kid like figure out what they like, figure out other things. Like it's more to life than just basketball, Mm-hmm. It's a lot more to life. Like let them do, I mean, everybody has their own guidelines and things with parenting, things like that, but let them figure out who they are without other people, like when they say, "Mom, I want to do this or this," like encourage them, you know.
Yeah.
So
See
I
the
would say,
pros of it.
yeah, like those are my biggest things. Is just kind of let your child figure it out, because sometimes what you think there's your child is thinking something else too. So make sure you ask them, like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? So you can kind of get that experience and kind of get that insight on what they're thinking, because you might be thinking that you want the best for them, but in their head it's kind of like she's being a little too much or he's being a little too much.
Yeah.
So just kind of knowing your child, and not just on a basketball level, but emotional level as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you for being on Coach Ernie Williams podcast. We're gonna have I'm gonna invite you for some more series and some question answering that we can get from some of the players and parents one day.
Okay.
Hopefully soon. But really appreciate you getting on here. Guys, Brooke McCarty, you better look her up. Let me put your handle back on there. Add her, follow her. Great player. And Hook 'em Horns, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, appreciate you. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.